How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. Along with my partners, Brian Siegler and Jonathan Talley, I am Curtis Wilson, and we are part of the College Huddle Network. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts at Counts Family Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. Fellas, it's good to be back.
Good to be back. Gentlemen, how we feeling?
It's snowing down here. That's all I know.
It's snowing.
It's snowing there. It's snowing here.
I don't want to say it's snowing. It snowed. It dusted.
There's snow on the ground.
Yeah, it dusted.
We're actively getting some action here.
Yeah.
Virginia Beach is getting slammed right now.
Where LeVar? Where LeVar? Is LeVar down? If LeVar checks in tonight, LeVar got to tell us how deep is it where he lives, because I know he lives down in the 7.5.
Talked to the in-laws not too long ago, and they're plus 6 inches last I checked, and it didn't even start till noon there. We got a dusting overnight here, had a little bit of break in the morning, and then about between 8 and 9 it came back with a fury and hasn't stopped since.
Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff.
Got the Hunger Drill shirt on in honor.
They're going through it right now. My oldest son loves this shirt, by the way. He's like, Dad, that shirt's just so cool. So, and the other son, we got to something y'all have in the can in a few weeks here. We got to talk to Jay Lane last night. Me and Brian did, which was super awesome. And my middle son was hyped. He was like, "That's 83. Don't you play with him on the game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So his next question was, "Who else from the game are you going to be talking to soon?" Like, I don't know, son. We'll see. He's hyped for it, man.
Hey, we've already had a couple. We already had a couple of those folks in the game on here already.
I know we had. I'm gonna show him that. He's gonna get even more hype. Tally, how's baseball going, man? How cold was it when y'all played yesterday?
Too cold. It was too cold, man. I think it ended up being maybe like 40, 42, somewhere around there. Too cold for me. I mean, it was. And most of his games are double header, so it's a 4:30 and 6:30 type thing. And about that 6:30 one, it was rough to deal with.
That sun went down. It got real.
We got games Friday and Saturday, which they're already talking about. It may be too cold to play one or both of those. So we'll see.
What's too cold to play in Alabama?
Yeah, what's too cold to play in Alabama?
Sub 40?
Let me see. How can I explain it? I don't know. I guess if you hit the ball and it jars your hand too much, that's too cold. I mean, it's no number. They're gonna play as much as they can, but I don't know what the number is to when they say it's too cold.
All right. Well, listen, PT gonna be a college ball player one day. Tell him when he's in D1, it don't matter how cold it is. They play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell him you better go.
26 playing.
Yeah. Tell him you better try to get somewhere where it's warm. You don't want to be up north.
Florida. Go to Florida. Anywhere in Florida that gives you a scholarship, just go.
Right.
All right. Well, fellas, it's good to be back together. Y'all, all three of us, we got
some weather updates from around the horn here, guys. Let's get some weather updates in here.
It's no snow, but it's 10 degrees in Texas. Oh, we got another one here.
Jesus.
Robbie got out of school today for clouds.
Josh need to let us know what part of Texas is that damn cold.
Yeah, Josh. Where is that? Up on the Panhandle or something? It's cold everywhere. I'd love to hear what it's down in the 7.5 right now, snow-wise, so let us know. But it's been a few weeks. We got a ton to unload tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk offensive coordinator hire in just a few minutes here. We're going to talk about the extension of the ACC contract, the playoff talk as well, the house talk, all that stuff, just because that interests us. But let's talk about what happened a little over a couple weeks ago. And Tyler Bowen effectively leaves the Virginia Tech Hokies in the offensive coordinator position, and he takes the offensive line coach.
Hallelujah.
At Ohio State. Tally, I told you right off, I'm letting you go first on this one because what did you say 6 weeks ago?
Let him go. I mean, again, if I'm thinking in my business mind, I guess, if I'm Brett Pratt, I think Brett Pratt is the problem. That's what I think. I think he's the head coach. I think the problems are falling on him, whether it's personnel problems or game management problems or whatever they are. I think ultimately it falls on him. But everybody was so hyped to get rid of Marv, and I said we had just as much problem on offense as we did defense. You got everything you wanted back on offense. Essentially, all this returning production, you got your quarterback going back, and you got everything you want on offense, and we shit the bed every game, not one game, not 2 games, multiple games. We just looked discombobulated to me. Everybody said, well, we scored this many points or we ranked this. I don't care about rankings if it doesn't equate to wins. Like if it's situational football and you're not winning in those situations, it doesn't matter. So a lot of times we may have scored 30 when we should have scored 40, or we should have scored 50, with what we had and what we could have done. But again, I'm not here just to bash Tyler Bowen, but he took another job and I'm happy that he did. But the thing that makes me think, he took an offensive line coach job, right? Mm-hmm. And he was the offensive coordinator of the worst fucking offensive line in the ACC. There was not one time you could look in that room, just pop your head in that room and go, hey, man, this shit don't look right. Y'all need to do something different. Like, you couldn't say nothing. I just think a lot of times, man, these coaches just accept the check. They're checked out. Like, they don't care. They act like they care. I get it. It's a job. Everybody goes to a job and you get paid to do your job, but like my wife is a nurse. I'm not trying to hype her up, but she loves her job. She comes home and she tells me things, and she goes to. I seen her go to Walmart one time and buy somebody who was getting out of the hospital some clothes because they didn't have family to get them clothes on the day they were leaving. So she went and did that. She loves her job, and whatever they pay her, she is passionate about that job. Can't say the same about everybody, but when you're coaching my football team, I kind of want you to be passionate about it and really want to win. And sometimes I just feel like we weren't. And Tyler Bowen is one of the main. If you and I don't mean to go on a tangent, but everybody knows that tangent. Clemson was one of the worst.
Run defense.
They had one of the worst rushing defenses of anybody that we played on our schedule. And I think we ran the ball like 1 time, 4 times, however many times.
4 times with a running back.
I was going to say, and you can't tell me, oh, well, you didn't have any running back or the running back was hurt. You go give kids scholarships and NIL money to come play. Put them on the field.
Yep.
Put them on the field.
3 of those rushes were with your injured running back too.
Come on, man.
Yep.
Come on, man. Like, as an offensive coordinator, that's the offensive coordinator that everybody told me was good and safe. Come on, man. Get the fuck out. Go coach offensive line or I don't know, play Swartz with Ryan Day. I don't care what you do. Get the fuck out. Bye-bye. I'm happy. I was excited. I didn't care who they got. They could have said Curtis Wilson is the new OC, and I would have been more happy than Tyler Bowen being there.
Curtis, what playbook we running?
I'm kind of keen to the Florida playbook. No. I like the Florida playbook right now. A good amount of pistol and shotgun, a little bit of wildcat and stuff. But yeah. But keep going, Tally. If you got loaded, man.
I'm gonna say I mean that is it. I mean, that is where I was at from the beginning. And again, God bless Tyler Bowen. I hope he goes and has a successful career in whatever he does. I don't wish any bad on anybody, but I'm glad that he won't be in the booth or on the sidelines calling no plays for us because just didn't look right to me. Curtis, I'm gonna throw it to you. What do you think?
Well, with me, it's a couple things, and I'll let Brian close it out here in a second. But so, it is a demotion. But if you ever tell me I were to get a demotion and get a 20% raise, less responsibility, I ain't gonna be looked at all the time. Yep, I take it in a heartbeat, and I like what I do as well. But if you told me I got a 20% raise, less responsibility, yes, I would take it in a heartbeat. The other thing is this, Tally, and I think it was in his head. So let's say this next season, we've hired a new defensive coordinator, right? We're making some moves on that. What if we go out and win 8 or 9 games? But you see us, what you just said, Tally, we have a game where we score 10 points, the defense holds them to 14, and we lose. Who's going to be the next person to get fired on this staff if we have an 8-win season? It was going to be the offensive coordinator. A lot of people said it should have happened. You were leading that charge, Tally, because – what you just mentioned with the results. So I think for him, he sort of knew, well, if I go to Ohio State, I get nothing but NFL prospects. I might not have to work as hard. I just noticed your little tag there, Tally. So I get it. And for him, like you said, Godspeed. Brian?
I'm agreeing with Jim here. Tally is 100% correct. So let's run back. And I tweeted this the other day when we were talking about Bowen relative to the hire. We'll talk about that in a second. We're still focusing on Tyler Bowen right now.
Got to unload it.
When we talk about Tyler Bowen, we talk about a guy that, from an offensive mind perspective, was up there pretty well. Like the guy knew scheme, right? So he was good from that perspective. But what I saw consistently is that every year it took us 4 years to really find any sort of consistent footing with our offense. So we're going through our entire out of conference schedule looking uneven. And that's not to say that we didn't have moments of greatness. I mean, the second half against Vanderbilt looked pretty good, even though we had a couple situations where it wasn't so, right? But, a half of football, we played competent. But for that first month of the season, we didn't put enough quarters together where you felt like that offense was clicking the way it should. That was consistent for 3 straight years.
True.
All right, so – and then situational play calls, much like talking about the Vanderbilt, situational play calls and situational starts to games where it felt like we didn't necessarily have the right game plan coming in were problematic to me. Those are my biggest criticisms. I thought that Bowen did mostly, Clemson notwithstanding, and Tally, you already hammered him on Clemson. I thought his adjustments in game and especially after halftime were pretty good regardless of anything else we were dealing with most of the year. But it's still those situational play calls that left you scratching your head, and it was those kind of initial game plans that sometimes we come in with, and we're like, why are we not taking advantage of these things? Why do we feel like we're letting them dictate until we figure out where the holes are, instead of watching enough tape and doing enough game planning where we're attacking those holes out the gate and we're jumping on teams?
Inexperience.
There you go. Can I make a quick point to both y'all on this? So you talk about the Vanderbilt game. The first half was god-awful offensively. It was. Let's go to the Boston College game real quick. We can't be stopped in the first half. 28-0. What happens in the third quarter? The offense basically doesn't move the ball at all. At all. And literally it took Jaden Keller getting a fourth down stop to flip the momentum of that game. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we've talked about Bowen with this before. There were times when he rolls sevens, he just hit 7. He hit 7 and 7. If he ain't rolling sevens, though, he's rolling snake eyes. And he's busting you every time. So it was that inconsistency where at times it looked like, my God, he can call every play right. I go back to the first year, 2021 against NC State. That third quarter, we scored 21 unanswered points. We do nothing in the first half. We do nothing in the fourth quarter, and we lost that game. And you can't do that.
It's just the lulls. You can't. God, you can have a drive here or there, but you can't have these long periods of lulls where you get 3 to 4 drives back to back where you don't really get anything out of them. Even if you score on the next 3 or 4, situationally things have changed in the game. The flow of the game has changed. The way you're having to run your offense now has changed. Yep. So you've lost the opportunity that you have by having those long ass lulls in the game. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. That's why you need to be consistent.
Yeah. My problem with college football is that I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. I go and watch too much film and watch too much like off the ball stuff. If I'm an offensive coordinator or a head coach or anybody, and I have Bashal Tootin in my backfield, and he has to look over to the sidelines and tell me to give him the ball, I deserve to lose my job.
Yeah.
And it was games when he was looking to the sideline saying, give me the ball. The one person on the team that was leaving it all on the field every single game. Not saying other guys didn't leave it on the field, but I'm saying every game. Yeah. And it was times when he was saying, give me the ball. Beginning of the season, we're like, why ain't they handing him the ball? Why ain't they giving the ball? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
The other thing I was going to talk about, and Tally, this was kind of to your point with the offensive line hire here. So like he gets hired to coach offensive line, and you're like, why aren't these discussions happening? If you're in that room, you're that guy that is kind of overseeing this entire ship. And I think some of this might be just a mentality. And I don't know whether this is a prize culture thing or whether this is just Tyler Bowen being inexperienced and not feeling like he can go in there and bust some asses. But at some point, like, you got to be willing to step on folks' toes and make them a little uncomfortable if they're not getting the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
100%.
I agree.
100%. That is effectively that management responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Offensive coordinator, people can say what you want to say. Head coach is the CEO. Those guys are the VPs.
Right.
And guess what? If you can't go there, what you just said, Brian, if you don't have the stones or the intestinal fortitude to walk into somebody's room and like, you are screwing up, let's talk through things, you can bust them in front of people. That's what happens. That happens to people. So anyway, Bowen off to Ohio State. Tally's happy. And let me hit this, y'all, before we talk about the hire. The names floating around. You had Christian Taylor, Neil Brown. There was one other person. I cannot remember who it was, if y'all can remember. But
I think it was a dude at East Carolina. I can't remember the name.
Oh, yeah. It was the OC. He's like 30. He's younger than Tyler Bowen, but he also was Lane's co-OC down at Ole Miss. So that means you don't call plays, though. That means you do shit, but you don't call plays. Right. But any of those names stick out like at all? John David Baker. Nah, nothing jumped out.
Not really. I mean, I know when we were talking about it when it was first kind of leaked when they talked about Christian Taylor, I was like, who? I think I put in the chat like nobody knows who this guy is, and then y'all was like, yeah, you do.
Dude, we all wanted him.
Yeah, he was like,
he's the guy we wanted to hire over Bowen when the first round of hires were made.
I don't know, man. I did a little bit of research afterwards, and I was like, okay. I mean, if we get him, hopefully he can do something. But wasn't too excited. I mean, I wasn't mad, but I wasn't excited. And I'll get to, the second part of that when we start talking about the hire. But when the name was floating around, it was just like, all I wanted was experience. And like I said, I know we're going to get into it. I wanted experience, and I wanted somebody who was not linked to, like, I don't care if they linked to Virginia Tech. I don't care if they've been here. I don't care if they know Pry and they're cool with him. I wanted somebody to come in and be like, I'm trying to revamp my career as well. I'm trying to get to the next level. I don't want to just come in and follow orders, Yeah. So again, I know we'll talk about it here in a minute when we actually get to the hire. But Brian, I know we talk all the time. So
yeah,
what did you think about the names that was floating around? Excited, not excited? What?
I don't know if excited would be the right word, because it's hard to get excited when you are having to replace an offensive coordinator in February.
Yeah.
But relative to the names that were out there and kind of who I thought was available, who I thought made sense, shout out Tim Thomas. There were some names that made a lot of sense, right?
All the names make sense.
There was names that made a lot of sense. Neil Brown made a lot of sense. Ricky Ronnie made a lot of sense. Like names like that kind of got floated out there pretty early. Those made a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So you got head coaching experience. That's something that Croc could potentially lean on. Whether good, bad, or ugly, they both have head coaching experience. So that's bringing at least another round of experience into the room that could help him with his process as well, that he can kind of use to lean on in some of those areas that he can spend an off season with and kind of talk through different scenarios where he feels like he can improve his skill set as a head coach, right? So that's helpful in those standpoints. So if we were given like a like putting a curve in there, right? If you got a Ricky Ronnie and a Neil Brown, that was going to be an A+ to me, given the circumstances. So that we're setting the curve with those names. And then down from there, I think you look at somebody like Taylor, somebody like John David Baker, that would kind of be in that B range, right? So you got a couple guys that have had some experience, considered,
up and comers,
really good minds, innovative minds on the offensive side of the football, but not necessarily P4 experience, obviously no head coaching experience. So it's not somebody that can have that mentor-mentee relationship with Pry either. So that's kind of that B range, somewhere in the B- range, right? So that's kind of where I was hoping that we would be at worst, was kind of that B- range. And then, Neil Brown and Ricky Ronnie would have kind of set my curve at an A+ range if we were able to pull those guys in.
Yeah.
So now, Curtis, you can say your piece, and then we can, talk about where we think the hire went.
Well, I'll hit it real quick. If it had been Christian Taylor, you look at the innovation down at William and Mary, and it'd been like, we can live with that. He's a Grafton kid. He's a 7'5" kid. So he played down there. He played quarterback and linebacker. He played with actually a guy me and Brian have worked with in the past. As soon as that king popped out, I got a text from my buddy Sean. He's like, dude, I played ball with this guy. He's a good player. He's a good coach. But to your point, Brian, real quick, Ricky Ronnie, to me, Neil Brown would have been the one, but he's a head coach that's getting paid $7 million over the next 3 years to not do jack shit. And you know what? He's like 44 years old. Somebody tells me I'm going to give you $7 million. You don't have to do anything for the next few years. And you know the amount of pressure these guys. I understand why he didn't take it. But where the names that got floated were fine. Like we did not have a C or D. B's or better is where we were. And then finally, we land on Philip Montgomery, and kind of a name out of nowhere. There were some people on certain places saying the guy's experienced. It's a really experienced hire. And, you know, for y'all who have been living under a rock for the past couple of days, you know, Philip Montgomery is hired as the offensive coordinator. His most previous stop was in college, was at Auburn back in 2023. Tally's going to get into that in a few seconds. And then he was the co-OC of the Birmingham Stallions in the UFL, and they won the championship last year. Tons of stop between here and there, and we're going to hit all that. But I'm going to pitch it to Brian first. Brian, with this resume.
Kevin, what's happening?
Kevin is here.
Kev.
Kevin's name got, I think, dropped at the presser the other day, straight up. But, Brian, you look at his resume, I mean, 20-plus years as a collegiate coach. What excites you most about the resume that comes in?
I think the thing that excites me the most, and the thing that probably excites the gentleman whose name just flashed across the screen the most, is the legitimate quarterback coaching experience that this guy's bringing to the table. Whether Pry has him as a walk-around OC or whether he is sticking strictly in that quarterback room, you know, that remains to be seen. I don't think Pry kind of hammered that home at the presser, but regardless, having that guy with that much coaching experience in the room, being the guy that's pulling the trigger on these play calls, that means a lot from a development standpoint. That means a lot from how do you incorporate your quarterback into your overall scheme standpoint. So I'm excited from that front. You know, when we're talking about grades, if Deal Brown was the A+ here, I'm going to give this, it's A-, B+ range for me. It's somewhere, you know, between the Ronnie and the Deal Brown hire, but higher than those other two names, young and innovative, but maybe not quite. No head coaching experience. You're not bringing necessarily the quarterback room experience that you like if you hire a Christian Taylor, for example. So you get both of those things with this. You get kind of that mentor type relationship that Pry can lean on from a guy that's been a head coach, at the D1 level. So, all these things are I think big pluses. And to Tally's point, somebody that wants to earn a spot back, right? So this is a guy that, was an OC, had a ton of success out the gate, through his time, and initially as a head coach and primary play caller at Tulsa, had some pretty good success early on in his stint as a head coach at Tulsa. And now, obviously that didn't work out long-term at Tulsa. You had a little bit of a rough stint at Auburn that I know Tally's going to elaborate on a little bit there. And, you go to the, UFL, have some success, and now you're kind of working your way back into, P4 football now at Virginia Tech. So you got an opportunity to really show that you still got what it takes. And I like having a guy that is hungry and still has something to prove.
Tyler, what about you? You look at that resume up there, 20 plus years coaching, coached some high school as well. What did you, when you looked at it and said, damn, I like that right there?
Man, it's just experience, man. Like Brian said, I think Josh just put it in the chat. He said quarterback coach for RG3. Sometimes if you've never seen something, it's hard for you to imagine what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I was selling cars and somebody would go, excuse me. When I was selling cars and somebody would go like, well, what's the difference in a RT to a Scat Pack? Now, I can't explain it to you if you ain't been in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's got more horsepower. It's going to go faster. It's going to go, if you stomp the gas, it's going to get to the next light faster than this one. That's what it's going to do. But unless you actually been behind the wheel and you stomp the gas and the back wheels get squirrely and you know how to hold it in the road, things like that, you can't expect what to do until you've been in the position. So somebody who has coached a mobile quarterback, who has, at the highest level, RG3, think about RG3. And even when he was at Tulsa, we don't even have to talk that far. When he was at Tulsa, you can think about some of the quarterbacks that he had and the plays that they ran. I think 247 did a really good comparison of kind of like Bowen to Montgomery's offensive style and how it will change a little bit, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands faster, a little bit more up-tempo, things like that. But the main thing, we can talk all the numbers. I'll get Shelton on here to tell me all the numbers. I know he can dive into it like way, way better than anybody else. But just from a football fan standpoint, a Virginia Tech fan standpoint, you get somebody with head coaching experience that, like Brian said, has something to prove. And if things look wonky, most of the time, a coach like that will be like, hey, man, I don't agree with this. This don't look right. Why are we doing this? You know, and instead of just, okay, we friends and I'm just going to this. I'm just doing my job. You know, I don't need I'm just doing my job person. I mean, if we can win, let's win. And sometimes you just don't have the horses to win. Like, really, some games you play the other team's just better than you and you deserve to lose. It wasn't the case in a lot of games we played. Coaching lost us a lot of games. Playing scared lost us a lot of games. You know, I'm not saying Montgomery's going to come in and change all of that because, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, it's ultimately on Pry. Pry is the man. Like, he has to be better for Virginia Tech to win as a head coach. But you bring in somebody like Matt Moore in that offensive line room with a lot of experience, and you bring in somebody like Montgomery with a lot of experience and Power 4 experience, you know.
Power 4.
You know, and big. I know we're going to get to it, which I'll go ahead and hop into it as well. When you talk about – because I've seen some people say, you know, he was down at Auburn and he sucked. Well, we ain't Auburn. You know, that's number one. I never understand when people say, well, he was at this school and he sucked. Well, guess what? He might not have been a fit there. There's a lot of things that go into a factor of, I don't know how Tyler Bowen got an offensive line coach job at Ohio State. I don't fucking know. I really don't know. But he's up there.
He's making $1 million.
He's going to make some money. So, yes, exactly, James. But most of the time, from what I've seen, I mean, I'm in Alabama. So Alabama and Auburn fans is what I'm around. Most Auburn fans are very happy with what Freeze has done recruiting-wise. He's busting ass in recruiting. Like he just knows how to recruit. You know what I'm saying? He knows how to get in the mix. He knows the things to say. He knows, I don't know, where to drop the money if that's what he has to do. Like, he'll get a little dirty. He knows how to recruit. But when it comes to putting it on the field, he's been dropping the ball. You know, when you get into the recruiting game and you're talking to a high school, high 4-star, borderline 5-star running back, and you say, okay, if I come to your school, how many touches am I going to get my freshman year? And then you promise them something and then you don't live up to it, that's probably going to get you in some trouble. You know what I'm saying? When you got the offensive coordinator and the head coach on a different, like they're just on different playing fields. You know what I mean? So I think that's a lot of stuff that happened when Montgomery was at Auburn. Freeze wanted it one way. Montgomery kind of wanted to do his thing, and Freeze was like, no, we're going to run what I want to run, and I'm going to take over play calling, and I'm going to go with this quarterback. I'm going to go with this. They ran off all their quarterbacks. Auburn's had some good quarterbacks to come through, and they ran them all off to go with Peyton Thorne. And Peyton Thorne ain't even from here. Like, he's from Michigan or something. He came from Michigan State. So it wasn't like it was a local kid that they just had all this trust in. Auburn ran off Bo Nix even before, like, Freeze got there. Like, they just mismanaged a lot of quarterbacks. So Auburn's got their own problems. So anybody who's saying, well, he was at Auburn and he sucked, like, Auburn's got bigger problems than an offensive coordinator.
Yep.
I'll just say that. So hopefully they get together because I love to watch Auburn. Like, if I was any other fan besides like a Virginia Tech fan, I'd probably be an Auburn fan because I just keep up with like a lot of kids that I've known personally have gone to Auburn, and Auburn's kind of that underdog in the Alabama Auburn rivalry. So I've kept up with them a lot. But back to what we're talking about with Montgomery. Montgomery being there, as you can see, he was only there for 1 year. I really think that he just didn't have his feet under him to do what he wanted to do. Freeze kind of wanted it to be, and that's his team. You know, it's his team, and if his name's on the line, he wanted it to be how he wanted it. And I understand. So one thing I can say about Montgomery though is when he got out of Auburn, he went straight to the UFL to try to get some more like experience and money, and like he hungry. He trying to get somewhere. So I'm hoping that he just brings that here, and I'm hoping that he doesn't bite his tongue when he sees stuff that's off. You know, I don't know exactly where his if he's on field, if he's in the booth, I don't know, but I just want him to be in Pry's ear like, hey, man, this don't make sense. Why are you making my quarterback? We got two capable running backs. Why are we running our quarterback right here? You know, or why are we throwing the ball to the tight end right here when we have two good receivers? Whatever the case may be, I just hope he brings his experience to move the offense along. So I know that was a lot at one time, Curtis.
All right, man.
Yeah, what you thinking?
Well, with me, it's the head coach experience, and it's for a couple reasons. For Pry, first of all, not only his experience as an OC, but his experience as a head coach. Pry, the only thing he needs to go in is go check on that room. How's it going? A little motivational speech, clap everybody up, make everybody feel good, and leave. Because you have a guy who's effectively been an offensive coordinator. If I do the math here, because he called all his offense 15, 16 years. Of 15, 16 years of calling offenses. He knows that room. Don't deal with that. The other thing about him being a head coach is he's been a head coach a hell of a lot more years than Brent Pry ever has. Brent Pry needs to get in his ear. Let's talk about game management, how we want to do things. What did you learn? Because you put up there with the Tech Sideline podcast. I listened to the interview today. Shout out Chris Coleman, but big shout out. I am so glad they gave David Cunningham the lead chair and let him interview. That kid has been on this show numerous times. We've gotten to know him pretty well. He deserves to get to do things like that. And he made a great play or a great interview with Montgomery today. But when you have that experience, it's almost like, don't worry about that room. That guy's been through experiences. Ask him about what he would do in this situation. You have now effectively – you can say a lieutenant. He's got a true lieutenant now. He can go in as being a head coach and say, hey, what would you do right here? Should we call timeouts right here? And I think that, if anything, because, Tally, you keep saying it is all on Pry. It is all on Pry. And if he's the problem, well, now you got somebody who's went through the ringer, right? Figure out what he did wrong, see if it's the same thing you're doing wrong, and what can you do to maybe fix it? Because you still got to fix it. As far as the other stuff goes with the offense, y'all, somebody put it out here. I don't know where it was, but legitimately, this might be the most legitimate off-season hire in Virginia Tech's history. We have, and somebody said, what about, what is it, Philomancy? Right? Can't remember that. I always screw up the names. Y'all know I'm good at doing that.
No.
What was his name? He became the defensive coordinator before Bud. Somebody throw it in there. I'm butchering his last name. I can see it written out. But he was never defensive coordinator. He came as a defensive back coach, and that happened. We've never had a hire like this big where you look up that resume and it's like, he's been a head coach, he's been an offensive coordinator, he coached a Heisman Trophy winner, they won a bunch of games at Baylor, he's coached 4 NFL quarterbacks. Thank you, James, right there. Phil Monson. But we've never had a hire like this. I give Pry credit because some coaches wouldn't hire another head coach to come in. So, again, it's the big changes.
I think there's two things here, and this is kind of pivoting into what we're going to talk about next from a scheme standpoint. But looking at this hire and looking at the move with Seepkes, so two things here. These are both guys that, other than some passing, paths crossing, these aren't his guys. There we go. Yeah, name butchered. Everybody drink.
Your drinking game.
You know what? If you listen to an episode like the State of the Program, you will get drunk off that game. I don't know if we'll quite go long enough tonight for that, but if you get one of those 2 or 3 hour benders, you might get drunk off that. But, talking about scheme, these are 2 coordinators. Both of these coordinator hires are kind of outside of Pry's former sphere of influence, right? These are not his guys. These are not buddies. These are not people that he's had kind of on his short list for years and years, right? These are guys that when he evaluated what he needs to do at Virginia Tech this offseason, he identified that there needs to be some shifts to be successful. And it looks like on defense, that's going to be more, 3 high safety looks, mixing up with a hybrid front. And when you look at offense, it's going to be more, I'm not going to say downfield passing, but less behind this line of scrimmage passing. When we look at the way we're attacking defenses between the tackles, it looks like he's leaning on us needing to get better between those tackles to be more consistent in the running game. So he's addressing that, and I think that's impressive because they're not wholesale changes from a scheme standpoint. There's a lot of overlapping elements in both of these schemes, but there are certainly, big picture, these are different looking defenses and different looking offenses. And that's something that you got to give him some kudos to look at. He didn't just, say we're sticking with the status quo just because
he didn't cookie cut these hires.
Yeah. So he's evaluating everything, and he said we need to have a shift on both sides of the ball. I'm excited about this offensive scheme. I think it's going to be a good fit for the skill personnel that we already have on offense. I think it's going to help ease the offensive line into what they're looking at. When you think about more coaching offensive line, this is a similar philosophy to what we're looking at with, if a Neil Brown came in. So, some of the terminology is going to be similar. There's going to be some overlapping elements there. So I think they vibed well as far as what they each wanted to accomplish when thinking about, I'm going to call him Phil Monty, like the full Monty, but it's Phil.
Phil Monty.
Phil Monty and our boy Matt Moore here. I think they vibe pretty well on what they were trying to do offensively, and that's why this was a good fit.
What did you like about the run scheme? Because you said you got a chance. We found that YouTube video, and I think you went back and watched a couple games. What does his and Moore's scheme? What is the meshes? What, like, this is already in place. This is already in place. Guys will already know terminology.
All right, so when we look at Neil Brown's offense, it was an air raid, but it was a run first air raid. It was a balanced air raid. When we look at what Monty has ran, it's mostly veer and shoot. It's that Art Browse, that Josh Heupel type offense. It's going to be heavy with it's more of a hybrid scheme. It's got air raid principles from a passing standpoint, but there's still those smash mouth spread principles that you're going to look at from a more traditional spread offense. So it's kind of a hybrid of that. And I think that's going to be good for a quarterback like Kyron Drones, because I think that's going to help him develop his passing, especially his downfield passing. But you're also going to see him still be active in the run game, still be able to use his power, his athleticism in the run game. So I'm excited about both of those standpoints. And, looking at the run game specifically, what you see with this is a lot of kind of when it's wide, when it's outside the tackles, a lot of zone philosophies from a scheme perspective in the run game. But, between the tackles, you're going to see a lot of gap. You're going to see a lot of power, a lot of dart, some ISO. So there's going to be those elements when you're running between the tackles, but more of that zone concept when you're getting wide. So you're going to see that veer, that wide zone, stuff like that. You're going to still see that blocked up pretty similar to what we've seen in the past.
You're the owner of a small business, which means you could use another pair of hands, like the experts at Verizon Small Business Days, August 11th through 17th. Get a free tech check and special deals like a free 5G phone. You know you want one. Call 1-800-483-4428 or visit verizon.com/smallbusiness to book your appointment. Verizon Business. Available for select 5G phones. New line device payment agreement and select data plan required. Credit applied to account over agreement term up to 36 months. Terms apply. Offer ends 8/17/2025.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros. Word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Tally, anything to add on top of that before maybe ask a question?
No, not really, man. I mean, we've been hitting on it a little bit. I think everybody, I mean, I'm just excited for a change. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you got change on offense, change on defense.
You're trying.
You're trying. Put your best foot forward. Let's go see what it is. Let's go see what happens.
I think
I am excited about I feel like in certain games, especially, tempo would have helped us. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about, the tempo changing and, probably I think he said in his clip with the team that we would use tempo as a weapon. I think that was the word.
Yep.
So even at the lowest, like the slowest tempo that he had was faster than our tempo. I think his slowest tempo was at Auburn. I'm looking at it on 247. It was like 63. So plays per game. It's pretty much like 63.62. That was in 2023. Now ours over the time that Tyler Bowen was here over the past 3 seasons was 62.5.
Damn.
So, and that was the lowest that his was. Like the next lowest for Montgomery was 69.83.
Yeah.
And the highest that it's ever been is 87. I ain't saying that we get there, but
I don't think we need to get there, but I think what
he
tempo does is it lets you shift gears.
Right.
It lets you shift gears because and let's think about this a little bit. Think about some of the moments that were the most head scratching and hair pulling for us, right? 2-minute offense.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that it's hard when you're not playing fast to get into that gear. And when you're conditioned to play fast, because it's a lot easier to slow down than it is to speed up.
Break. Yep.
Right.
It is. And that's the thing he said in the interview with TSL today that caught my ear was, we're not going to go fast all the time. He's like, we're going to go fast. We're going to go medium. And he said, sometimes we're going to go slow. He said that's something he's learned over the last few years of coaching, because he talked about you get in a track meet and your defense don't get time to breathe. Well, you ain't doing them no good.
Yep.
But he said at other times, he's like, it sounded like he wanted to say, there's other times you're up 14-3 and they're on their heels. Put the hammer down and get to 21, because guess what? That game plan they had, it's gone. They down 18 points now. They can't dictate the terms to you because you've gotten it. So it seems like to me he's not going to be back to the old Baylor style, but I think, like you said, Brian, like you mentioned, Tally, there's going to be times where he's going to look at Kyron and he's going to say, we're just going to go. I'm going to give you the first play. You're going to go. We're going to call it. We're going to snap it in 12 seconds. And there's going to be times where we're just going to pound the ball, because that inside run scheme you talked about, Brian, y'all can say what you want to say. To me, it's been over the past about 10 plus years, maybe even more, that there are times where it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. We can't run the ball inside to get them. And I don't know if it's for somebody like me, like Wyatt Teller was on this team. Wyatt Teller is one of the best interior guards. We didn't have the right scheme to push forward 2 yards. So hopefully it all comes to fruition. The other thing, and I think Doug Bowen put this out at 247, I think I sent it to y'all, the amount of passes behind or at the line of scrimmage, his is significantly less than Tyler Bowen. His intermediate is significantly higher.
Yep.
Significantly higher. And what I liked about looking at the tape I did is, if you notice, just about every single time there's a pass play, there's either like a drag, a quick curl, or a flat route. there is always an easy pass for the quarterback to make to gain positive yards. And I think there were times you can say the line of scrimmage, that's the line of scrimmage pass. Well, the thing is, if you pass the ball 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and somebody blows it up, guess what? It's 2nd and 12 now. You were behind the sticks. Versus if you run a drag route and get 3 yards, it's 2nd and 7. Everything in the playbook's there to get a decent third down. Anything else additional on the scheme, Brian, Callie?
I don't think so.
I think we're good, man. We can move on.
All right. Somebody is asking, I'm going to find it here. Where did it go? About the recruiting ability. Well, right now, we do not know the staff makeup. We know that there's changes coming. I literally said that at the press conference. There's going to be some things shuffled. There's probably some more people getting hired. And to be honest, y'all, I think to your point, what you said a little earlier, Brian, I think he's going to primarily coach the quarterbacks, but I think he's going to be in every room. And I think that is the thing Prowl wants now. He wants his coordinators. Listen, you're not going to be traveling on the week of games. You're going to sit here and get the game plans ready. That is your job.
Yeah, and on that question, when somebody asked, they said, what about his recruiting ability? I think they're just asking, like, do we think he's a good recruiter? Who knows, man? I mean, realistically, I don't think it really matters. I think that as far as in this position, I think that the production is going to be the recruiting tool that you would need. Like, you got to go out and show somebody what the offense looks like. I mean, you're in a damn good position with Kyron Jones as your quarterback, and then you bring in some great skill players as well. If you go out and you make this offense look halfway decent, you'll turn some heads and make some people want to come. We've been getting good players even when we had bad offenses or bad teams.
Yep.
So if you go out and you produce and you win, I think that's the bigger recruiting tool than just him being a recruiter. Even like when Bud was defensive coordinator, he wasn't a huge recruiter. Like when people think about Bud, if you know anything about him, he wasn't a huge recruiter. So when he went and got Dax, because like that was his guy, like it was a big deal for him to put that much time in recruiting because Bud just didn't do that. So
he didn't hit the road. He was a good closer, but he didn't hit the road very much.
He didn't hit the road that much. So I'm not saying like I just don't think that plays as big of a deal as like
hold on,
other positions.
You want to know the recruiting stats? If he goes out here and Kyron throws for 3,000, Aiden Green goes for 1,000, Donovan Green goes for 1,000, and the two guys we brought in through the portal rush for 1,000, there's going to be damn people kicking down your door wanting to come here and play.
Right.
Green sounds like a law firm, man. We gonna have some law. Yeah, we gonna have some law firm. We can put up some law firm numbers. So I was looking at his 247 recruiting history. So he pulled a 4-star, like high bid 4-star quarterback Walker White while he was at Auburn. Pulled a 4-star wide receiver at Baylor, 4-star wide receiver while he was at Tulsa. So he was the primary on a wide receiver while he was the head coach. Which you don't really see that, no. But it is what it is. He pulled a.
When you say he was at Tulsa,
yeah,
he was calling his own plays at Tulsa too. So
exactly
had something to do with it.
Yeah, so I mean, he pulled a 4-star wide receiver, primary, recruiter on a wide receiver while he was the head coach, and obviously recruited Bryce Petty, who was a mid to low 3-star, and turned him into a hell of a quarterback. So,
2-time back player of the year, got drafted, hung around the league a few years. So, yeah. And the recruiting point, you're to a point now, and I know we're going to talk about this, but like high school recruiting's almost becoming secondary.
Yeah.
It is. I keep thinking about the Michigan situation. They're going to pay that kid $10 million. What if that kid is ass? Like seriously,
that's what world's come to.
But what's eventually going to happen? Again, rich people don't like. Everybody's like Miami's going to kill the NIL game, and then they sucked, and that guy pulled that $10 million back. It's like, no, you don't get my money. Right. But just a few other things. talk about, we do have a new senior director of player personnel, Trey Neer. He was effectively coming over from West Virginia in the same role, also being a recruiting assistant from the same role. That's Mike Villagrana's old role, who left a little while ago. So that's been done. We still have director of high school relations, a director of recruiting, and obviously we got to know about the quarterback coach. We got to know what's Sam going to do. So we're probably going to be back here a week from tonight, because my feeling is probably Monday and next week, everything's probably going to get laid out.
Well, I think now that you've got your coordinators in place, there's been conversations with them and Coach Pry about how they want that side of the ball to look from a structure standpoint, whether any additional hires are going to be brought in, whether any additional shuffling is happening. It sounds like there's definitely still some reshuffling that's being discussed. So at minimum, we're going to see guys at least having a different official position next to their name come spring ball. The question is going to be how much shuffling is still done on offense. We know that there's at least going to be a little bit on defense, though.
Yep, 100%. All right, as y'all know, we are brought to you by the Counts Family Pharmacy at 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg.
New King, what you doing, man?
He heard Miami, so he had to tell me.
Did you see the bat signal? Like, what the hell?
Heard Miami. All right, let's talk about just a few more things before we wrap up tonight. Since we hadn't been here for a few weeks, literally, we talked about going on when Tyler Bowen let go, but it was just like, well, it's going to be like 10 minutes. Tally's going to rant. We're going to say a few things, and that's it. Ain't no need to talk about it. He's gone. But a few things did break at a higher level that we got to hit tonight. And the first big one is ESPN decides to extend the ACC contract that goes to 2036. I'm going to stop here for a second and say a few things. 2036. Everybody's currently on this screen in 2036 will be 50 years old. First of all, that's asininely long. We're going to be 50. We're all in our early 40s right now. That's a stupid-ass long contract. So there's that. Now, a couple other things that kind of hit out here is they're saying Florida State, Clemson, Miami are going to play Notre Dame more. Fuck them. I don't care.
Fuck
all four of them. Fuck all four of them.
Fuck Notre Dame more than anybody. You know what? The ACC should have held their feet to the fire during COVID when they let them slide in and use the ACC to play in those games and play in the conference championship, whatever it was. They should have held their feet to the fire and said either yes or no. What are you going to do?
Well, you ain't playing nobody this year.
Yeah, they just been just riding that wave, letting them do what they want to do. I know they got all kind of fucking Catholic money or whatever they got, but I don't know, man. Pick a conference or get on.
Yeah.
Tired of them hanging around.
When you look at it, I think the problem that I have with it, and New King's gonna love this, but like my problem with the way they're structuring this is it feels like they're just appeasing the FSUs, the Clemsons, and the Miamis, for the sake of doing it without looking at the bigger picture. It's like, okay, so you got a couple headaches with FSU. Clemson kind of jumped in on that. When you look at the media money, I mean, one of those three isn't even in the top 5 in terms of media for the conference. So it's kind of wild that we're doing this pick winners and losers thing as part of this process, instead of just saying, hey, if you go out there and win football games, you get a bigger piece of the pie.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing about that too, Brian, I'm going to follow a couple things here. First of all, Clemson and FSU are asking for less grant of right penalties in 2031. If y'all are asking what's the significance of 2031, every conference but the ACC, because John Swofford is a dipshit, is going to market. Now, we don't know what that's going to look like, because right now it's all hide and tidy. But we've seen it like we've seen sports in the past, because remember the NBA used to be bigger ratings in football back in the day, and then it fell off. Same with Major League Baseball. So right now they're riding high. We don't know what's going to happen in 2031. So there's that. The other piece is you talked about those initiatives, Brian. And
let's talk about Robbie's note real quick here,
that?
Because from a media rights standpoint, if we're looking at the P2, Virginia teams have a little bit more of a market that isn't already available in like the SEC than some of these schools.
Yeah. So in that
markets in these in these states, so there's not that much inherent benefit from media rights. Now, New King's pointing out bigger picture ACC is dead here, and I'm gonna throw that one up here.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Becoming the most valuable sports franchise in the world doesn't happen without risk. A man who's willing to bet it all, and the players ready to make their own luck. America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, is the story of the 1990s Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones's impact on NFL history. Featuring interviews with iconic 90s players and more. Watch America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, August 19th, only on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing they were talking about with the initiatives, because it's not going to be a split pot like it is right now for the SEC and the Big Ten. That if Clemson and Miami and Florida State are getting more of the pie, then they're probably not going to be $20 million behind. They're going to be like $5 to $10 million behind. You can survive on that.
Right? Yeah, it's just so funny. Is like, at some point, like, why are we basing it on names though? Like, to Robbie's point, I mean, yeah, these three teams are likely to join some sort of P4 conference just because of their history and things like that. But if the ACC folds, at least half that conference is going to be in one of the P2 conferences or the other. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, that's what's happening. 4 to 6 teams are going to be in the SEC or Big Ten when the ACC folds.
Yeah, because this is put what Bag put up there, because I'm gonna counter on this. Because if you start saying, because I love what Josh Pate said, I don't agree with everything he says. I think he's got some good thoughts. I think he's got some dumb thoughts. But he says eventually, you don't think the SEC and the Big Ten big schools are going to look over there and say to their commissioner, "I'm Alabama, motherfucker. I'm getting $78 million a year, and freaking Vanderbilt's getting $78 million a year. Screw you. You're going to start paying me." And when that happens, that's when potentially this could happen right here. Football gets too big for the conferences. Somebody comes in and says, "You know what? There ain't no conferences no more. We're going to put all the money into a pot, and y'all going to be separate from your conferences." Now, Greg Sankey and Petty guy up in Big Ten country, they going to fight tooth and nail to say, no, we need conferences.
I think that's probably another drink for the listeners out there.
Oh, whatever. Trying to get y'all fucked up tonight. But like that happens, there will be no – it's just going to be, here is P4 college football. Here's probably 60 teams, and they play in there each little region. It's going to be the NFL. Here's the Northeast region. Here's the Mid-Atlantic region. Here's the South Atlantic. Here's the Deep South. Here's the Ohio Valley. Here's this. And there'll be like 9 of them. So, but you can't do anything, but you got to talk about it, because your team's sitting here and you're slowly going to fall behind. You're still third in the money, right? You're still third in the money, but you're about $20 million off. So we'll see what happens. But that kind of leads to the thing, Brian, you kind of got interested in, was the Ross Dellinger stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, kind of looking at some highlights of that. You had the House settlement. It was reported on by Ross Dellinger. A couple months back, we didn't really have a chance to cover it the last couple times we've been on here. We've really been kind of focused on talking about the DC, talking about the coordinators. Yeah. So, there's a revenue sharing piece of this. Part of the schools, any of the schools that opt into the settlement will share a portion of their revenue with their athletes. There's going to be back pay, so $2.77 billion will be distributed over the next decade to athletes who played from 2016 to 2024. So essentially, kind of going back in that time frame there. With the NIL agreements, athletes will sign agreements that will guarantee compensation directly from the school. So that's a difference than what we've been kind of dealing with before, with a lot of the, Triumphs of the world kind of negotiating inclusively but separately from the school. This is kind of bringing everything under the umbrella, making things a little bit more above board. So kind of taking it at a high level, it's expected to shift payments to athletes from the boosters to the schools themselves. It's expected to change how the athletes are going to be paid, and it's really going to be a little bit closer to an NFL model in terms of athlete compensation. The difference being is that you're not going to see, you don't have a cap and you don't have multi-year agreements, right? It's still going to be a year-by-year, case-by-case situation that we kind of been dealing with, since NIL has been instituted, but you're at least going to have things that are publicly available in terms of what these agreements are and how they're handled. And obviously it's going to be a big shift in what the collectives are doing, being more of a fundraising arm or a separate fundraising arm outside of the typical booster operations versus being the sole kind of arbiter and distributor of the funds to the athletes.
Very well spoke, Brian, on that, because that is some high level, very technical stuff going on. The only question I have is you have to opt in. I think it's by like July to pay that, but that guarantees the school's going to pay you. Like, what do you do? I mean, there's schools all over the country, but if you're some kid at some big name school and they don't opt in, because there's already those, we've seen it out there. Yeah, I was promised $300,000 and I got 50 and I never saw anything else, but I played this year. Did you sign a contract? No. Sorry, you ain't getting that $250,000, kid. Do you think that right now, like, how does that sway kids? Because if you go to a school, it's like, yo, we're not opting in, but we're still going to pay you. Like, what do you say? Like, what are you supposed to say to those kids? I mean, to me, it's you negative recruit the shit out of it.
Yeah. And and you got the whole Jaden Rashada situation that has played out over the course of.
Wait a second, is that the Wisconsin guy?
Or the quarterback that originally committed to Florida.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy because.
Oh no, sorry, Miami, New King, Miami.
Miami
bad.
Left Miami, went up to Florida. Wound up at Arizona State.
Yep.
Right.
Arizona State and now at Georgia.
And the issue was nobody paid him. We're gonna give you $7 million. No, we ain't. We're gonna get you to sign. We ain't giving you shit. But again, what the whole thing is, it's moving more and more. Like somebody put on there, like there's gonna be salary caps, and things like that. Payments listed as public. Somebody else put that up there. It's just UNLV. They were getting shoeboxes full of money is what they were getting. That's how you paid kids back then. Just give them a shoebox full of money. But it's going to be interesting to see how this actually falls out, because the one thing going forward is, could there be a cap? Could there be a cap? Somebody put it on there. Like effectively like 18 million or 20 million. That's it. That's what you can pay your kids. You can't pay them no more, no less. So be very smart. All the good old days, right, Josh?
The good old golden Trans Am, baby.
It's great. All right. One last piece I wanted to hit, just college football wise. We just went to 12 teams, and now there's more discussion of expansion. If y'all have not heard, potentially going by 2026, so 2 years, 14 to 16 teams. Now, right now, SEC and Big Ten are trying to basically say they deserve 4 teams each. ACC Big 12 would get 2. Any feelings on that?
I don't think you should ever lock in a number of schools outside of a single automatic bid per conference.
Right.
And that applies to ACC, SEC, Big Ten, whoever the fuck it is. You should not be booking multiple automatic bids. The number of teams, look at the number of teams we have in the NCAA tournament in March Madness. And each team is still only getting one fucking guaranteed spot. So if you got a field of 64 and it's only one, why the fuck are you going to give 4 when the field is 14 or 16? It doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah,
I agree.
It doesn't make sense, but I mean, the way it is, it's the Wild West. There is nobody controlling this. It's literally conferences getting in a room. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do.
And the bad thing is the ACC and even the Big 12. I mean, they have essentially ceded the leverage over the last decade plus to the SEC and the Big 10, where I don't think they have enough leverage to say no for fear that they would get stuck with an even worse situation. Like, they don't have a leverage to big dick their way into the room.
No, they don't. They don't. So now, with that being said, there is now discussions the SEC and the Big Ten are going to play every year. Well, they can't do that because they don't have even teams. The SEC has 16, the Big Ten has 18. But let me ask y'all this. I did the math. If you count Notre Dame, you know how many Power 4 teams there are?
What we got?
68. It's an even number. Why can't y'all just figure out, just let the Power 4 teams all play each other? Go to 9 conference games. And you play one from each of the other conferences. It would help get rivalries back renewed. It would help, for me, bring eyes, because what you could do is basically say, where'd you finish last year? We were second in the conference. All right, you're going to play somebody in the top 5 of the SEC and the Big 10, or the SEC and the Big 12. You're going to play 3 of the top teams. Well, we sucked last year. Well, you're going to play the bottom.
Curtis, don't make sense. Stop trying to make too much sense here, man.
Make me commissioner. I'd have shit happy as hell, because I'd make sure every year, there would at least be one out-of-conference game where Tally could drive less than 4 hours to go see the Hokies play.
I'm going to say the most low-hanging fruit thing that you can right now, but what is being negotiated right now, what's been negotiated, what feels like for the last decade plus, is not really what's best for the game or for the fans. This is what's best for the money.
It's true.
And what's best for the money, unfortunately, is for SEC and Big Ten teams in the fucking playoff. That's what it is. So they don't really give a shit about whether this thing has any sort of parity. They don't care about
long term either.
They don't care about the long term money. They care about what's rolling in right now. And what's rolling in right now is that, all right, so you got 4 or 5 teams in the SEC that draw more eyes than in the entirety of the Big 12 conference, or most of the ACC, right? So they want to try to get those teams in at all cost.
They do.
And they looked at the Big 12 and they looked at the ACC, and they say, probably best case scenario, and whether this is fair, right, or wrong, whatever, the ACC is probably only going to have 2 teams every year that can draw eyes like that can draw eyes in that similar ballpark.
Right.
Big 12, same damn thing. So they like, we'll give you those bones because we'll take that money, but we're not going to give you any more because this ain't what it's about. Tally, what you got?
I think it's all stupid. I think it's all about the have and have nots. But like you said earlier, man, it's just putting a number on it just sounds stupid to me. Are we going to get it 4? Because it may not be, 4 teams may not be deserving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you have a shit year, you're going to put 4 in there. That's what I don't
put 4
like
in there
about
anyway.
it.
Yeah.
I don't like about that.
Everybody was, and we talked about it plenty, but everybody was talking about this year, like how the games weren't good and this and that. I was like, whatever, man. That's just what y'all want. Everybody has a way that they're trying to play. Everybody wants to play something that's going to, make them feel good about something, whether it's their team or their conference or something like that. But, I mean, the games have always been the games. Like we said, you go look at the championship games, most of the time it's been a blowout as of lately, or a very lopsided game. Even though this year wasn't a blowout, it was a lopsided game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that just most of the time in college football, there is one team that's just better than most teams in that year.
Yep.
They may screw up and lose one game, maybe even 2 games, but most of the time there's a team that's just they get it going at the right time, and they're going to beat whoever you put in front of them. So that's not going to change no matter how many ACC, SEC, whatever schools you try to put in. Sometimes you're just not going to win.
Yeah, but to me, it's just a number. Like we have to have 4 teams, and it's like, well, what if you are just a pile of shit conference and you put 4 teams in that year? It's a money grab. Like
they just want the money. That's all it's
money.
about.
It's
got to be relative too, because I mean, you can say 4, but there's going to be 4 good teams in the SEC every year, right? It's just good teams, not right. Saying deserving teams relative to the other conference, but there's going to be 4 good teams in the SEC every year. But when you got to look at it relative to the rest of the competition, that's why that exists. You can't just say flat out, well, you get 4 teams in regardless because you're the SEC. Bring in the most money and you've got the best players. Like at some point we got to say, okay, I get that this is about putting the best teams in the playoff, but it's about putting the best teams that earn the spot into the playoff, not just putting teams in because
games still matter.
Like we're not simming a dynasty on fucking NCAA here. Like at some point you got to play the fucking games.
Well, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's going to snap it. Is there's going to be some year, there's going to be some SEC team that plays 3 good out of conference, goes 1-2 and out of conference, and wins like 6-1 inside. And they're going to be 8-4. And like they won the SEC, and you're like, that motherfucker won 8 games.
No,
like
Jim makes a good point here too.
The games were good. They should have been spaced out better. And the whole thing is, people were like, well, some of those games were blowouts, and it's just like that's football.
It's football.
That's just football. The NFL has the most parity. Well, let's look at the NFL this year. That week 1 wild card had a bunch of dog shit games except Washington and Tampa Bay. They were awful. They were awful to watch. Even the second weekend wasn't that interesting. And that's a league with parity that drafts, that chooses their own players. They can cut anybody at any time.
Yep. And also, I mean, you had a blowout in the Super Bowl, and I think regardless of what you feel about Kansas City and the referees, nobody thought that Kansas City didn't fucking belong in that game.
No. Right. And they got smashed. So that's why you play the games, and that's why everybody that says, well, these teams just don't have a shot. They don't have a shot. No. To not have a shot is to not get a chance to play a game.
Right.
That's the day you take shots off the table. Because nobody gave Arizona State a chance against Texas. That game was supposed to be, 11.5 point line? That game was supposed to be a blowout. That's the most entertaining game all year.
Right.
But reality, we should have had Ole Miss in there, right? We should have had that. They were a better team than Arizona State this year.
Right.
Yeah. We said Ole Miss or Alabama should have been in there. Really? No.
So,
and but the only thing I like that has come out of this is that I agree that re-racking the seating would have helped what we dealt with
significantly. I agree with that too.
The automatic bid shouldn't necessarily guarantee you that bye.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily, I think if you win a conference, let's have some discussions about if you're not in the top 4 that you get to automatically host that game, right? That could be a conversation that you have. So you don't end up with your conference champion potentially hosting a team from their own conference that they just beat on a neutral site. Yeah. Right. So that's a fucked up scenario. Better. That's a fucked up scenario. But a better scenario is that you still rank them. You give the buys to who the buys belong to. After that, if they're still conference champions that didn't get that buy, you at least give them that 5 to 8 slot.
Well, I think what's the big thing that might come out of this whole re-rack of the playoff is conference. I think conference championship weekend is probably going to go away. It's going to probably go away.
Robbie, we get it.
We got it, Robbie. Yeah, Oregon did say please reseed. But the conference champion, because the discussions is if they do what they want to do, which I think it's going to come to fruition, and what you're going to have basically is like for the SEC and the Big Ten, their top 2 teams are in the playoff. And they're going to basically say 4, 5, and 6, you're going to play each other. The ACC, your top team's in the playoff. Your 2 and 3 teams are going to play to see who gets in. Now, that would probably make conference championship or Thanksgiving weekend super intriguing. But to me, you want to do anything, guarantee the 4 big conferences 2 spots each, conference regular season champion in, play in games, and then figure out the rest. Because I'm not against, because the one thing I like is good games.
I think this season also made the case against conference championship games.
Yeah.
In general. Just
screwed Oregon, benefited Penn State. Who else? In a way, well, Carson Beck got hurt, so didn't really screw him, although Texas got the easier matchup on New Year's Day, technically.
Yep.
So it's all sorts of wild stuff. And to me, I think what they're about to do, and this is my opinion, it's an invitational. It's not a playoff format anymore because you are literally saying, oh, you're guaranteed. You're guaranteed. In playoffs, there are no guarantees. There aren't. Tally, your son played in the basketball playoffs. Y'all weren't guaranteed a spot, were you? Y'all's conference wasn't guaranteed a spot in there. No. Mm-hmm. Y'all had to play.
Gotta go play, man. Gotta play the game.
Play. And eventually, if you ask me what the demise of college football to the casual fan will be, it's effectively people are going to start looking at it. And it's not anybody on this call right here. We like college football. We have our team. We watch other games as well. But the casual fan who won't watch anybody but their team, who will turn the Saturday night game on and watch it to 4:30 or 3:30, if you lose them with this dumb shit, that's when the bottom falls out. And it's going to be everybody's going to be begging for money. Everybody. So, yeah. Tyler, you've been looking hard at the computer there. What is the Lakers on?
Yeah, the Lakers is on, but I've just been looking at different stats and all type of stuff. Like the 247 thing really intrigued me about Montgomery. I didn't pay attention to it until just now. They got a lot of stuff in there. I got a deep dive and look at what they were just talking about. I think it's called the 7. I think it's like labeled the 7 differences of from Bowen to Montgomery. So I've just been paying attention to that. It's a lot of stats in there. It's like, okay, I'm interested, man. I'm interested just to see what's going to happen and to see which route we're going to go. And then when somebody's going to tell Pry, hey, man, what you're doing is fucking dumb. Let's do something different.
There you go. Well, again, I've said this 3 or 4 times, Tally. He's already decided to do that himself because it takes stones to fire people. It also takes stones because he literally brought in someone with a hell of a lot more experience.
Yep.
And a lot of times that don't happen. So, yeah. But I can't wait till it's going to be about, what time is it right now? 10 o'clock? Give me 12 hours. Tally's going to be sending us all these stuff he's looking up and found and said, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah.
And I love it because that's the way it's supposed to be. All right. Well, did anything break? Like we hadn't heard like we are hiring a coordinator or a different coach or anything, have we?
No, we're not hiring a third coordinator. So
right.
Are we making somebody just a special teams only coordinator?
That's the hope, right? We can only hope at this
Maybe.
point. We'll
Maybe.
see.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. This episode of the Boundary Corner podcast brought to you by the Counts Family Pharmacy. I am Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Taylor.
Sheldon says hi, everybody. Sheldon's working right now. Sheldon's busy. We are part of the College Huddle Network. Visit the website boundarycornerbt.com to listen to all of our episodes. Do not forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel and your favorite podcast source. We are on them all. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long play us in, play us out. Check out jasonlongmusic.com, where you can link to all of his music on Apple, Spotify, and his YouTube account and Facebook pages. We appreciate y'all out listening. We appreciate all y'all in the chat tonight as well. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.